guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Emily, and on this channel we talk about all things bookish, sometimes college life, sometimes some vacation vlogs, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my least favorite books of 2024. I honestly was going to put my favorite and least favorite books all in one video, but there were certain ones that I just had to make a whole video for, and there are two books on here, there are two authors on here specifically that are also in my favorites of the year list, so it's kind of chaotic up in here. So I thought I would not start off with those authors, but instead start off with the one that genuinely fits this category so well, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. When we talk about a book that is so beloved, so popular, so hyped up on TikTok, and the cover, I'm sorry, I have to talk about it, is stunning to me. I love the cover of this book. The pink, I almost called this yellow. The pink on the back is just the perfect neon pink. I love it. So when I was going into this book, it's about a girl named, I already forgot her name. Do we know her name? Like, why is it not telling me her name on the back? Anyway, it doesn't matter because it wasn't a good book. Basically, it's about a girl that's depressed. She's in her 20s. She lives in New York City, and she just hates her life. Don't know why. You want to know why? Because she's rich. Maybe because her parents died. Okay, maybe not. Let me not be so harsh. She's depressed, but not really because her parents died. She's now rich because all of that money was left to her. She has a fine job where she doesn't really have to do too much, and she just pumps herself with medication so that she sleeps for a year. And so throughout this book, she kind of wakes up occasionally and it's like starts off like that. And she's like, okay, whatever, I can do this for a year. And then down the line, she starts doing things in her sleep that she doesn't know that she's doing. So I guess it kind of like amps up the book. She has this friend that comes in that's super cheery. So it gives that really stark contrast between cheery and just like dreadful. And her friend's parent also dies. And guess who's a crappy human being? She has this best friend that cares about her so much, and she could not give two craps about her best friend. And I think my biggest issue with this book was that I really love character development. I love character development and character interactions, and I love kind of relying on our main character and really liking our main character, and none of those things happened. She's not a likable main character. There was no character growth at all with our main character. I didn't care about her backstory. I didn't care that her parents died. She didn't care about her friend when her parents died. She had no remorse. She had nothing. And I know that was kind of the point, that she felt numb, but I just didn't feel bad. Like, she put herself in this situation. She has the money to get herself out, to like buy herself a puppy to make her happy. I don't know. So I ended up giving this book, I think I gave it a 2.5 stars. Every time I think about this book, I don't care. I didn't like it. I know some people are just like, this is such a profound declaration of depression and how it's dealt with in society, and like, I couldn't agree. I do love the idea of this book. Ottessa Moshfegh, the idea of it is good, and like her writing style is good, but the like actually how it was executed I didn't love. So I don't know. Maybe it's good that she made me hate a character so much, but I just wish she wouldn't have done that, you know? Okay, so moving on. Some of these books, I don't hate them, but I was severely let down and disappointed. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. So you'll be surprised because on my favorite books of the year was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I love that book. I read that book. I read it twice in 1 year. And then I got onto Reckless. And no, I was severely let down. If you don't know what Powerless is about, this is the second book in the series. If you don't know what Powerless is about, it's about a girl that lives in a world where there's magic and they kill everybody that's ordinary that doesn't have magic. And so she is hiding in plain sight as a psychic, and then she has to enter these trials, and there's like this forbidden love because the guy that's supposed to kill the ordinaries really likes her. There's a little bit of a love triangle between the two princes, which is crazy. My main qualm about Powerless was that I felt like it was not very original. There were a lot of scenes that I could see, like, were from the Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Shatter Me, that I could genuinely pinpoint the specific scene that I know it was from. This book didn't have that issue. It's a lot shorter, and it was very original, but it was given a lot of nothing. Nothing really was in this book. I just felt like the same thing happened again and again and again. Like, they found each other, he would catch her because, not to spoil anything, but she's going away and he's trying to catch her. And he would catch her, and then there'd be this like conflict, and then a little bit of like a kiss and like oh my gosh, like I really like you, but I can't like you. And then somebody would run away or something would happen, then they would come back together, and then the same thing would happen. Another conflict, another kiss, get separated, come back together, another conflict, like that was the entire book. I think there was a little bit of like an introduction of like her father figure, because you know at the beginning of Powerless that her father died, and so mentionings of like who her father was, and like I guess starting it up for the third book. But that wasn't enough to make me love this book. The ending was shocking to me. Her romance is with Kai, which is one of the princes, but she also had a love triangle with Kit, who was the other prince. And you know Kai's her maiden man, but you got Kit's perspective in this as well. So it was like, okay, like what's going on with that? And the plot twist with Kit at the end was like, whoa, I really was not expecting that. But I don't think it was enough for me to like love this book. I think I gave it 3 stars. It's fine. It's fine. I had a fine time. I was bored a lot of the time, but I think it was just middle book syndrome setting me up for the final book. But the thing was, coming off of Powerless, that was just so good. I was just so disappointed. Okay, going on to another book that I was severely disappointed in, had such high expectations, but I genuinely so disliked this book, Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. You will be surprised if you've watched my favorite books of the year, because Ali Hazelwood was on that list 3 times. But this book, I don't know what it was. It had similar tropes that she usually has. She has a grumpy sunshine element. I just did not like it. I was actually really excited about this book too, because it was following a girl named Rue, and she was a food scientist. She worked within agriculture, and if you don't know me, I used to be an animal science major. I love agriculture. I think it's genuinely the backbone of like pretty much all countries. And basically a food science engineer. How amazing is that? And then Eli, he's a part of like this equity, what is it called? A private equity company that is trying to buy out her, I guess, like company, and she doesn't want it to change. And then she meets this guy on an app, and then she realizes, oh crap, like that's the guy that is trying to take the company. And there's just like this big deal about it. And I was really excited for it. But the female main character just wasn't what I expected. Usually they're very quirky. She was quirky a little bit, but just her personality I didn't mesh with at all. Also, this is one of Ali Hazelwood's most spiciest novels, and I felt like that was all it was. Usually in her books, there's romance, and yeah, sure, there's spice in it, but it's mostly romance and like this tension, and oh my gosh, like maybe he doesn't like me, but also like I like him. Do I like him? Should I like him? I don't know. And maybe he doesn't like, I don't know. There's always that tension in this like, oh my gosh, who likes who? And I don't know. There's that type of feeling that makes you so excited to read a romance book. But with this, I felt like it was all lust and like barely any romance, at least from her side. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I didn't like an Ali Hazelwood book for once. I didn't like it, but it made me doubt my #1 favorite romance author of all time. So, you know, you can't win them all. If you're wanting to get into Ali Hazelwood, I recommend it. I love her so much with all my heart, but I would probably skip this book altogether. Okay, continuing on with romance. This is a book that I was gifted by my friend Megan. Thank you, Megan. I am so happy that you got this for me. I've been wanting to read it for a while. Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I love Tessa Bailey. I loved Hook, Line, and Sinker. That is one of my favorite, I think my favorite book of all time by Tessa Bailey. But there are some books by Tessa Bailey that like were okay to me. And so this book, I'd heard mixed things about. I heard such amazing things that they just loved it, and then I heard some people say like, it's whatever. So I read this for the highest and lowest rated books on my TBR. For that video, this was the lowest rated. So that kind of, I guess, cued me in right there. Basically about this girl, she went to prison and then got out, and then she was standing in front of it's also a Christmas book, but it was standing in front of like a Fifth Avenue, New York City, like window, and was like, ugh, this is ugly. And oh my gosh, there's a cat outside. My cat's gonna go crazy. Sorry, if I see an animal, I gotta look. I'm sorry, she was standing in front of a window on Fifth Avenue, was like, ugh, this display is ugly. And this guy named Aiden was like, oh my gosh, what would you change about it? And she was like, change this. And he was the owner of the store, the CEO. And so he gives her a job. It was okay. I'm gonna be honest, so sorry, Megan. Thank you so much for giving me this book. I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I love that you got it for me. But again, kind of sticking with the lust theme. Honestly, not even. I just feel like it was incredibly not paced well. Like the first scene that she like jumped on him, and I was like, girl, you don't even know this man and he's your boss. And it wasn't even like they had like a heart-to-heart moment yet. They literally barely talked. And it was just so out of character. Then getting into her backstory about prison and then this other girl, I just felt like it's way too short to like really go into that. And I felt like the characters weren't fleshed out. My favorite part of this book was Aiden, the male main character. I feel like Tessa Bailey wrote him really well, but it was just completely off. So if you're into Tessa Bailey, again, I'd probably skip this one. If you really want to read it, I mean, I guess give it a try. It was just such a letdown. I'm not trying to be super negative or to hate on anybody's favorite books, but Caraval. I have had this book on my shelf since I was, I think, 15 years old. I have always wanted to read this book. I don't know why I put it off so long. I think because it was daunting because so many people loved this series. It follows a girl named Scarlett, and she lives in an abusive home with her sister, Tella. And there's this place called Caraval, and this like wizard type of guy, I don't know if that's like the proper term to like call him. He like runs Caraval, and it's this like magical place that her grandmother told her about, and just so much mischief happens, but so many fun things happen. And she wanted to run away, but she was like, no, whatever. They end up going to Caraval. Her sister's kidnapped, and she enters the game to kind of win her sister back because she's the prize. It's very whimsical. It's nonsensical fiction. If you love Alice in Wonderland, you'll love this. That's the type of vibe that you're getting from Caraval, is that nonsensical fiction world. But it did not sit well with me. I don't know if it was just like my reading mood at the time that it didn't sit well with me, or if it was just giving me nothing. I don't know. It was YA, so it did read young, and maybe that was why I just came off of reading a bunch of fantasies that were adult. They weren't even adult, but like new adult with that high tension, and just going to something so completely different that felt younger was just, or maybe like I wouldn't make the same decisions as the main character. The character's decisions were annoying me. I don't know. If you liked Caraval, I'm sorry to hate on your favorite book, but was not for me. Going on to a book that I don't think many people really know about. It is by Grand Central Station, I Sat Down and Wept. I heard about this book from Jack Edwards, and he raved about it. He was obsessed with it. And actually, this and Window Shopping were tied for the lowest star rating on my TBR, which was really shocking to me because if Jack Edwards is raving about it, of course I want to read it. And I bought it while I went to New York City, and I was like, this is just so perfect. Like, this is the perfect timing. This book, I had such high expectations for it. I'm gonna read the back because I feel like I couldn't really explain what it is without reading the back. By Grand Central Station, I Sat Down and Wept is an enigmatic and nearly indescribable book, a small classic of poetic prose whose author has been compared to a couple of authors I don't know. In lushly evocative language, Smart recounts her love affair with the poet George Barker with an operatic grandeur that takes in the tragedy of her passion, the suffering of Barker's wife, the children the lovers conceived, and it also had another book called The Rogues and the Rascal accompanied in this book. So it's fairly short. I started reading this, guys, it made me feel like the dumbest person alive. How she wrote, I was not following whatsoever. And then everything that I would actually understand, she was so annoying. She found herself to be the victim so many times. And like if the guy she was having an affair with left her, like was just gone for a while, she's like, oh my gosh, I want to die. I literally couldn't live my life. I literally am so depressed. I was like, girl, go like hug a tree or something. Like go cook, go like find a hobby, go figure out how to deal with your life without this man. He's a married man. Like, calm down. I wasn't vibing with her. And then other times I couldn't understand what she was even trying to say. So I was like, I don't know. I think I probably would have felt more connected with her pain if it wasn't bits and pieces. So maybe I'm the problem here. Maybe I'm not smart enough to read it. If you read this book and understood it, school me for a second. Tell me how wrong I am and how much like, oh, her depression was such a show of this time and this age. I know this was like set in the 50s, I think. 1945. So I mean, I get it. Do I get it? I don't know. But I was so hyped for this book. I thought it was like the perfect time. No, it was just okay. Okay, the last two books are romance books, and King of Greed by Anna Huang. She is the author of the Twisted series. I read the Twisted series, hated the first book, but the rest of the books I really enjoyed. And so I was really excited to read King of Greed. Well, not just this. The King of Sin series is the third book in that series. I read the first book and I was like, wait, I really like this. And so I read, I think King of Pride was the second one, King of Greed is the third one, and it has just continuously gone downhill. This was the book in the series that genuinely had the most potential to make me in love. It follows this guy named Dominic, and he just has everything that he wants. He's a billionaire. And then it follows the girl, the boss of the female love interest in the second book, if that makes sense. They're married, their relationship has gone downhill, he hasn't really made her a priority, and so the wife, wants a divorce, and it's kind of like a second chance romance. I love that. I love when a marriage is like maybe falling apart, but you do everything that you want to do to get back together and love each other and learn how to see each other again and put each other first again. There were little excerpts from when they first met each other that I thought was so cute, but I don't know what it was. I feel like Dominic was really annoying in this book. He blamed so much on his past because he was an orphan and yeah, cool, that was fine, but it didn't make sense for why he was treating his wife that way because she knew he was an orphan and she never it didn't correlate to their relationship at all. So I was like, shut up. He made himself a victim 5 times throughout this book that I was like, girl, stop bringing this up. I feel like one of the main strings in all these books that I didn't like this year was I just didn't feel connected to the characters. And so I wanted to, this has the most potential. I love a reconnecting marriage trope. I love that. But it just wasn't done well. And I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. I don't think I'm going to buy another book. But a plus, I read this all in one sitting. If you want a book that you can read super fast, this is it for you. Okay, last up, continuing with romance, Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This book was so disappointing to me because Icebreaker, if you remember my 2023 top favorite books, Icebreaker was on the list. This is the second book in this companion novel series. One of the things, so it follows a girl, oh my gosh, what's her name? Aurora Roberts. And she meets this guy named Russ Callahan, who is a part of the hockey team, and at this party, and they meet, they have a one night stand, and then they go to this camp and they start he's obsessed with her and whatever. I didn't love this book, which really hurt because I loved Icebreaker so much. The thing was, starting this book, I read this a year apart from, got this when it first came out, so I read this a year apart from Icebreaker, and I wanted a little bit of who these characters are, but they just jump right in. They expect you to read Icebreaker first and then immediately read Wildfire because they're mentioning people left and right that I don't even remember who they are. Honestly, I didn't even remember who Russ was until What's-Her-Face from the first book called him Muffin. And I was like, oh, that's Muffin Guy. But wait, who was he? And then there was this whole dramatic thing about the ice rink and how he was involved. And I was like, oh yeah, that was that guy. I was like, why did she not have a quick introduction to everybody? And so I didn't love that aspect. I hated the plot points within this book. I felt like in Icebreaker, the plot flowed and there was just an idea of why everything was happening. The ice rink was broken, so that's why they had to share a rink, and then something happened with their partner, so that's why they started ice skating together. This book, it's just, hey, they're at a camp, and whatever, just because the author wanted to put them together, she just put plot points and plot points and plot points together. There wasn't a reason why anything was happening. There was no motivation. There was something that I did with Russ's father and alcoholism, and I thought that was really well done. I really liked seeing his internal monologue, but Aurora was annoying me. She barely knew Russ, and anytime that he wouldn't tell her about his father or his past, she would get mad at him, and he's like, I'm sorry, I should be communicating. And I was like, no, you shouldn't. Not that you shouldn't be communicating, but she was mad at him, at a guy that she barely knew, for not divulging his deepest and darkest secret. Girl, earn some trust maybe. And also the third act conflict was 1 page. And I'm not talking about 1 page front and back. I was talking about 1 page, turn the page, resolved. So the third act conflict didn't even need to be there. So I don't think I'll be continuing with the books. I loved Icebreaker, but I think If you want to continue, maybe read Wildfire, see if it's for you, but I might just stick with Icebreaker if I was you. So those were all the books that were my least favorite in 2024. Honestly, while I was talking about them, I was like, dang, this is such a negative video. I'm sorry if any of these were on your favorite books of the year, like Reckless, Caraval. I feel like maybe those, maybe even Wildfire might be some of your guys' faves. Don't know why, but I'm glad that you love them. Let me know some of your least favorites. If you loved or hated these books, let me know. Please subscribe, comment down below, do whatever you want to do, and goodbye.